Now, this little story, well, it's about a song. And to be honest, as a story, it does go a little bit all over the place, but I'll try my best to stay on track. But you see, sometimes I write a song and it just gets under my skin. They can do that. But the particular song I'm going to talk to you about now, well, it took me on a really extraordinary journey. And just thinking about it now as I'm reading it, I don't think I'll ever forget it. But anyway, to start at some kind of beginning, you can see in the film here, there I am with director and cameraman extraordinaire Mike McKenzie and some actors, Beth and Dan. And we're setting up for shots for a music video we were making for this particular song back in 2019. And there we were, one cold evening on London's South Bank. Well, there's lots more to come, but just let me tell you first how the song came to be written. It had been one rainy Sunday afternoon. I was sitting there with my guitar and a cup of tea. And I was thinking about a girl I'd loved very much, and we'd lived together for many years, but it hadn't worked out. And she'd left my life. And fast forward, and there I was sitting there, probably feeling sorry for myself. But I could see her clear in my head right then. And ridiculous though it might sound, I really missed her. I just did. And I was just feeling so sad that love just hadn't worked out. But then I started to think about the love I wanted in my life and how I thought, well, it could be and should be different. And suddenly an entire lyric came into my head. I mean, seriously, the entire lyric. So I quickly wrote it down, and within a few minutes I played on the guitar and worked some stuff out. And I'd written a song completely. And as always, I filmed it with my phone camera so I didn't forget it. And I have to tell you, to me, it was a really good song. And it had come straight from my heart. And more importantly, I believed every word I'd just written. I mean, I just felt it all the way through me. I know I can't help it because I'm a romantic, but whatever I was feeling that day, something happened. Because I think I'd created one of the best songs, personally to me, I think I'd ever written. And of course I thought people, they could identify with it, because if I felt like this, well, I guess everybody did. And that, in a way, is when the adventure really started to happen. The blooming thing just kept going round and round in my head, and it just wouldn't let me go. And then this idea started to form, and a couple of days later, I was chatting to an old friend of mine, Mimi, who's living in Zurich. She's an amazing musician, a world-class violinist, in fact. Anyway, I said I was thinking about making this song of mine, something special, just maybe recording it much bigger than I'd ever done in production terms. And I'd said I'd even thought about recording it with a huge, proper live string section. And then she said she knew a guy that could do that for me. He was in Zurich, same place as she was, and his name was Jan Willem de Wit. Cool name, huh? Anyway, she gave me Jan's number and an email and stuff, and we started to communicate. And it turned out the guy was, in fact, a musical genius. I mean, my God, the guy was talented. And so then a new idea suddenly occurred to me. Yeah, why not try a full orchestration? After all, Jan was a brilliant film music composer and an arranger. And after chatting for a bit more, he said, sure, he could do a full orchestration. But then he casually added, he'd recently worked with the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra. Yeah, those guys, the guys that played every major film soundtrack you've probably ever heard of. And then bam, the craziness really began. We hired them. Yep, the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra. It's a thing you can do, apparently. And so now we set off the next part of the adventure. He started work on the full score, and we spoke back and forth, and I flew to meet him in Zurich, and I met him and Mimi, and we were in the studio over there listening to his versions until eventually we said, yep, we're ready to go. So we went to Prague. Simple as that. We set up all the logistics and the ideas, and we knew we could record the song there with a full 50-piece orchestra. Well, seemed like a good idea. And there, a few weeks later, we all came together, coming from across Europe and the UK to meet up in Prague. Now, this kind of motley crew, my team, included two of my best friends, Pat and John, included Mimi, who was going to play violin on the piece because she's an amazing violinist, her husband Ollie, and my amazing friend and business partner in a different company, Jonas. And it was really him and Miriam who kind of put the whole trip and the hotels and the rooms and everything together. I mean, they are really a smart pair. And so eventually we arrived, booked in, went into our Airbnbs, and the next day we met at Smeky Studios, the home of the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra. And I have to tell you, it was a pretty mind-blowing experience. I mean, just to stand in that world-famous studio, and then for me to listen to a full orchestra play my song. I mean, wow. And if that wasn't enough, crazily, 2 days after that, I had to fly on to Basel in Switzerland with Jan and Miriam to lay down the vocals, get the piano played, and then, of course, sort out the final mixing. Now, the man in charge of this section was the world-renowned Danny Detweiler, a genius of a producer and an engineer. Well, he's just off the charts what that guy can do with sound. And, of course, I mustn't forget his wonderful colleague, Benjamin. And, sir, there we all were, in Danny's amazing Edie and Klang studios, and we put the whole track together. And what a team. Now, as I kind of started the story, this project got very big pretty quickly. And of course, I then decided I thought we needed something else. So back to the start of the story. Because I thought once the track was mixed, maybe I should make an accompanying promotional video. And that kind of turned into a mini feature film in its own right. So now, after all of this, I was back in London. So I sat and wrote a little romantic story and a shooting script. And now with another old friend, Mike McKenzie from Drumcam Films, I set about planning and then realising a video idea one freezing night in London on the South Bank by the River Thames. And I gathered some friends and colleagues to help me out, and away we went. And in fact, you'll see the full video we shot in a little while. But just before then, there's a few other lovely things that happened I just wanted to tell you about. You see, it turned out that a very dear friend of mine, Jackie, was getting married. And once she heard the track, she told me she'd like the song to be played at her wedding to the wonderful Neil. And that would be the song for their first official dance as a husband and wife. I tell you, there's a lot more to that story, but maybe ask me one day if you bump into me. And then, almost in unison, around a month or two later over in California, another old friend's daughter chose it as her first dance at her wedding as well. And that, folks, well, it's two of my proudest moments right there. They chose my little song for such a special day for both of them. And that was a real honour. And in truth, it actually inspired part of my later strategy and business plan to make the song the one that got played at everyone's wedding. Because the lovely lyrics that I'd written, I think, it just summed up being married and true love, and it was just perfect, in my opinion. Anyway, so I started to promote the track, and to my delight, the song quickly racked up around 613,000 streams on Spotify and in other places too. And there were thousands and thousands of views of the video on YouTube. But then, bam, COVID came along. You see, I'd set everything up so we'd officially launch everything, the video, the track, everything, on February the 14th, Valentine's Day 2020. But of course, come March 2020, come COVID, and everything stopped. And so there, the numbers went up and up, But all my promotional plans and strategies to work with promoters in Europe, set up live concerts featuring the song, well, they just hit a brick wall. To be frank, it kind of broke my heart. All that effort and just everything was snatched away and lost. And of course now the COVID years passed slowly. But the momentum was gone and it pretty much cancelled everything I'd done. And to be honest, well, I was stuck. I had no more budget. I put pretty much everything I had at the time into it. Ho-hum. So, anyway, that's my story. The story of how a little lovely ride started and ended. But I can tell you now and then, I kind of take comfort that I'd actually taken that journey. I'd written, I think, one of my best songs, and I'd had this wonderful experience and production and met all these wonderful people. And I had that at least. And of course, that had left me, still to this day, with some pretty amazing memories. But such is the life and luck of a working musician. It's just full of ups and downs. You'd think I'm used to it by now. But I guess it's still full at least. And I still love the song. I hope you like it too. And so, without further ado, after my great long rambling story, here it is, a little film, and my little song from a wet Sunday afternoon when I was feeling sad and thinking about love and the way I think it should be. So, featuring the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra and me, As We Grow Old by Phil Ryan, Professional Dreamer.
Set out on this journey, baby, you and me, facing life together as we go. And it ain't always easy, the road ain't always clear. Then you take my hand and say you won't let go. As we grow old, this love won't fade. Just one soul, we're unafraid. Let the stars go out, the sun grow cold. I'll keep on loving you. As we grow old, the moment that you kissed me, I knew you were the one. Give me every single thing I need to have your strength and passion, your honest open heart. The faith I see in you makes me believe. As we grow old, this love won't fade. With just one soul, we're unafraid. Let the stars go out and the sun grow cold. I'll keep on loving you. As we grow old, I look at you and you're beautiful, and I know that's how you'll always be. As we grow old, this love won't fade. With just one soul, we're unafraid. Let the stars go out, sun grow cold. I'll keep on